And welcome back to our final trip into the Witchwood with all the neutral cards. As an aside, there's at least a couple of days of reveals that I have in fact missed, but I think we'll be plenty fine with the ones we have because we have got plenty of cards to talk about. As a quick reminder, the new mechanics we're dealing with, the new keywords are Echo, which is card can be recast this turn as long as you have the mana for it, and Rush, which is can attack minions on the turn they're played. That being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. We start with probably one of my least favorite legendaries so far, as Alina, Soul Thief. Well, it's a 7-mana 3/3 with Battle Cry. Replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's, and I'm just not feeling all that excited about it. This isn't a card that's going to make me happy to play it. No matter how good my opponent's hand is, I don't think it'll be good enough, often enough, for me to really justify playing it, more than once as, a joke. That being said, as I've said many times before, I eagerly await her appearance on the top cards I was wrong about. Next up, we have one of the big cards of this set is Baku the Moon Eater. He's the cornerstone of the deck building challenges. 9 mana 7/8, start of game. If your deck has only odd cost cards, upgrade your hero power. For most heroes, this means get double the effect, with a few exceptions. Shamans get to pick the totem they summon, Warlocks just draw a card without taking damage, and what's the last one I'm thinking of? The last one is, oh yeah, Hunter deals 3 damage, not 4. And the thing with deck building challenges is that you don't know how good it's going to be until you actually sit down, make it, get the payoffs for it, and just see how it plays out. A lot of the odd cost cards don't really make me super excited to play them, and Baku doesn't really make me. I don't know if Baku's upgrade really makes me excited to go for it. A lot of the classes that I really would want to play Baku in could really use even numbered cards. One of the ones I was thinking of is maybe doing an odds-only Warlock to get the upgraded hero power to just draw cards without, taking any damage. You can play a bit riskier since your hero power doesn't hurt you anymore. But I just don't know, because that means getting rid of things like Twisting Nether, Siphon Soul, Hellfire, the Spell Stones, a lot of really good cards. So it's definitely one to experiment with, but I'm just not sure how good it's going to be in the end. Next up, we have the Blackwood Pixie, which for some reason I keep calling Blackwood Pixie, and will never stop until the day I die. It's a 3-mana 3/4, vanilla stats, good. Battle Cry, refresh your hero power. Well, unless I'm playing with Baku and I've got an upgraded one, I'm not really sure how much I care about the Battle Cry. That being said, it's a decent enough, and it is an odd cost card, so it can work with Baku, but I'm just not sure how much I care about the Battle Cry. That being said, it is a 3/4 for 3, which means it's just fine on its own. Not too sad playing this, but it doesn't make me super excited either. Next up, we have the Clockwork Otamatone, 5-mana 4/4 mech, double the damage and healing of your hero power. Prophet Velen, is that you? For those of you who weren't around, I believe it was back. It's classic. No, yeah, that's right. Prophet Velen is classic. He is the priest legendary of classic, and he doubles the damage and healing of your spells and hero power, so it's not just hero power. That being said, he is an odd card, so I'm pretty sure he's meant to work with Baku, giving you, an incredible 8 healing. Yeah. If you're priest, that's 8 healing. If you're mage, that's 4 damage. If you're hunter, it's 6 damage. There's plenty that can be done with it, but it only really works in a few classes that really care about damage and healing of their hero power. So, not really sure how much. I have to wonder, does this double the damage of the Warlock takes? You have to try it and find out. But aside from that, there's only really a few classes that are even going to care about him in the first place. Otherwise, he's just a 4/4, and not even a great one at that. Moving on, however, we have the Countess Ashmore, 7-mana 6/6 with some lovely horns. Battle Cry, draw a Rush, Lifesteal, and Death Rattle card from your deck. And my first thought was, well, Curator was pretty good. And this is pretty much Curator, but with a broader scope. It's not Beast Dragon and Murloc, it's Rush, Lifesteal, and Death Rattle, and there's plenty of those that I actually care about. You know, if I'm Warrior, I definitely want my Darius Crowley, even if even if I don't get it off my Town Criers. I think this is going to be pretty good and maybe even better than Curator. Curator saw a lot of play, and I think Countess Ashmore might find just as much, especially because we are in a new rotation, and the fact that this thing can potentially draw you 3 cards out of your deck for 7 mana, and you have a 6/6, even if this only hits 2 cards, this is pretty damn good, and honestly, that's what I use Curator for most of the time. I didn't care about Murlocs, I cared about Beasts and Dragons. So yeah, I think this is going to see a lot of play because it's going to draw you more cards than Curator did more often than not, and that's just great. Next up we have Doll Master Dorian. No sir, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. He is a 5-mana 2/6. Whenever you draw a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it, and I will say the same thing I've said for every other when you draw a minion card so far. This is great if you can immediately follow it up with card draw. If you can't, this is not so good. This is a 5-mana 2/6. That is terrible. This is also a 5-mana 2/6 with soft taunt because your opponent is going to want to get rid of it as soon as they can. And of course, how many minions do I actually care about getting 1/1 copies of? Maybe things that have really impressive death rattles, or maybe things that are, have really good passive effects, but I just can't think of many creatures that I really care about getting copies of. And especially when you draw them, you're telling your opponent you have them. So if you suddenly reveal your big surprise card, well, your opponent's going to see it coming now. Next up, however, we have Greymane, the alternative to Baku. Start of game. It's a 6-mana 6/5 with start of game. If your deck has only even cost cards, your starting hero power costs 1. Seems like it's saying that to maybe prevent you from getting the bonus on your Death Knight, but a 6-mana 6/5 is okay. It's not the greatest in the world, but that's Bone Drake, that's Coffin Crasher. There are already cards that are like this, and it's not too bad. Having your starting hero power cost 1 is actually a bit more impressive than you think. I mentioned this back when these cards were first shown in my mechanics review, but especially if you have only odd cards, you're basically always going to be, well, maybe not always, but you can certainly more easily float 1 mana at the end of your turn, especially on your even turns where you only have odd cost cards. If you're at 4 mana and you play something that's 3 mana, hero power. It's pretty easy. It makes your hero power not as invasive, and it's much. I remember a discussion about Paladin Secrets where they talked about how easy it was to float a mana at the end of your turn, and this really wraps into it. It's really easy to float a single mana at the end of your turn. I've done it many times. You probably have too. So this I like. Of course, the other even cost card payoffs like the Muck Spark Eel and whatnot. We just haven't seen how they'll play out, and we haven't seen if there's really a class that can pull this off reliably. So it's another one of those we'll have to experiment, and I can't really give an answer right now, which is totally unsatisfying, but bear with me. Up next, we have the Gilnean Royal Guard. 8 mana, 3/8 with Divine Shield, Rush, and it's a flipper. Each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. So an 8/3 Divine Shield and Rush. Doesn't matter what your opponent's packing. Oh, your opponent has Ragnaros Light Lord? Let's just take care of that. Yeah, I know Light Lord is actually rotating, but you get the idea. Oh, your opponent has Sleepy Dragon? Well, I'll deal pretty decent enough to it. I kind of like this more for the 8 mana 8/3 than I do for the 3/8, but both sides have their uses, and I gotta say, when I said I wanted more disparity in stats with these flip cards, I was not expecting this. This, I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. Next up, we have the Muck Hunter. 5 mana, 5/8, Rush, and Battle Cry. Summon 2 2/1 Mucklings for your opponent. So you can make this a 5 mana, 5/6 if you like, which is basically vanilla. Although if you have some way of getting rid of the Mucklings, say Warpath or another Whirlwind type effect, this might not be too bad. You might be able to kill something bigger and kill the rest of your opponent's stuff, too. Hey, who knows? Or this could even be, with Warlock, a good start to a Defile turn. Uh, it'll... I don't like giving my opponents an advantage, though, and this feels like giving my opponent a significant advantage for just not enough in return. I wasn't even a fan of Cornered Sentry back in Ungoro, and I'm not a fan of this just yet. It'll have to impress me first. Up next, we have Nightmare Amalgam. It is a 3-mana, 3/4, all. What? This is an elemental, mech, demon, murloc, dragon, beast, pirate, and totem. Well, okay. And you can even see how in its artwork, it's kind of an amalgam of just everything. It's got a mech arm and a totem arm. It's got a demon horn and a murloc head, and it's got dragon wings, and it's got an elemental face. And oh god, it really is nightmarish. Who's the artist on this? Because I hate you. This is going to be in my nightmares now, literally. A 3-mana 3/4 is perfectly fine, and the fact that this can fit with literally any synergy at all is kind of fun, and it'll probably be a staple in Wild. Not sure how much use it'll be. It can certainly help with Paladin needing that one dragon synergy, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how much it'll actually be useful. But I will say the meme potential is just amazing. You want every single kind of synergy ever? Go for it. Next up, we have the Raven Caller, and I should, actually before I go on, I should mention there are two cards I'm skipping. The Pumpkin Peasant and the, oh, what else am I skipping? There was the Pumpkin Peasant and, oh, the Phantom Militia, that's right. It was so forgettable that I completely forgot about it. I mentioned them in my mechanics overview back when you were first talking about the flip cards and the rush cards. Or rush cards? No, echo cards, because Phantom Militia has echo. So just real quick, Pumpkin Peasant has Lifesteal, and it's a 2/4 for 3, I want to say, and it has the flip effect of each turn it's in your hand, swap its attack and health. And Phantom Militia is a 3-mana 2/4 with Echo and Taunt, neither of which I'm super impressed with, and I've already talked about them, so I'm just skipping them. This, on the other hand, I am even less impressed with than those two cards. It's a 3-mana 2/1 with Battle Cry, add 2 random 1-cost minions to your hand, and especially with the rotation happening, at least in Standard, there are not many 1-mana cards that I really care about getting. It's kind of funny how Enchanted Raven is part of the stuff that's cycling, and this is the Raven Caller. I don't want to pay 5 mana for a 2/1 and 2 random 1 costs. I'd rather just have the 1 cost instead of having this in my deck. This is just maybe it'll be useful because you'll be able to get more cards for your minion summoning effects if you're playing Shaman with Bog Shaper, or no, with Hagatha, I mean. I just don't like this. This just doesn't feel... This is going to get cleared by a single Whirlwind, I feel. But moving on, we have the Rotten Apple Bomb. 5 mana, 4/5 Taunt, Death Rattle. Restore 4 health to your opponent. I mean, to your hero. What? That's not how this works. It's not how this usually works, at least. That being said, it is kind of an overcosted taunt, I should say. Not undercosted at all. It's actually a perfectly fair taunt. It's Senjin Shieldmaster with 1 extra attack and a kind of pretty nice effect on the end of it. Getting 4 health back is really nice. Having these sources of neutral healing is really good, especially with Death Rattle, and you can potentially trigger it yourself. All in all, I like this, and I think this might, especially in odds-only decks, this is going to see quite the home. Next up, we have the Scale Worm. 4 mana, 4/4 beast with Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, gain +1 attack and rush. Very strange to see a beast with dragon synergies, but hell, I'll take it. If I'm able to pull this off, I have a 5 attack, 4 health, 4 mana rush. Okay. 4 mana, 4/4 itself is not that great. The fact that it's a beast is kind of nice. Could actually work with Deathstalker Rexar, just because, Rexar does get that sweet dragon this go around. But in the end, it's just kind of feels pretty meh. The payoff for having a dragon isn't that great. It is nice to have essentially removal. It's 5 damage to an enemy minion. Kind of nice, but again, I'm not going out of my way to really get the dragon synergy here. Up next, we have the Spell Shifter. 2 mana, 1/4, spell damage +1. Each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. Unlike every other swap card where I've been discussing how you can use both and they both have their own uses, trust me when I say this, you want the 1/4. If you actually want the spell damage, if you want this thing's passive, you want the 1/4. You can play it as a 2 mana 4/1 and see, maybe try to get a ton of damage in on your opponent, but your opponent is just going to destroy this as quick as they can if it's a 4/1. If it's a 1/4, they might leave it around a bit, or they might not be able to kill it, especially early on. So trust me, you want the 1/4. The 4/1 is kind of useless, at least in my eyes. Maybe the 4/1 will turn out to be good. Next up, we have the Splitting Fester Root. Death Rattle, or 8 mana 4/4 Death Rattle, summon 2 2/2 Splitting Saplings. The 2/2 Splitting Saplings each have Death Rattle, become 2 1/1 wood chips. So you end up with essentially, you end up with a 4/4 that turns into a pair of 2/2s, which individually turn into a pair of 1/1s. No. This thing is 8 mana to start with, and there are just so many other better 8 drops than this. This is not. I am never going to be happy playing this. My opponent is going to have 8 mana, assuming that I went first that game. They're going to just be able to destroy this. They're going to get rid of it, and it just doesn't make me feel good to play this. Not at all. Next up, we have Swift Messenger. It's a 4 mana 2/6 with Rush, and each turn this is in your hand, flip it. Swap its attacks and health. A 4 mana 6/2 with Rush means that I get to remove something big. A 4 mana 2/6 with Rush means that I get to counter aggro decks. Once again, both sides are pretty good. I like both sides. I like the Rush element. It's just pretty good. It's going to be a solid common card, which it is common rarity, so it's going to be, you're going to get plenty of these, so you're probably going to be able to fit these in. Or at least you're going to have these in your collection pretty quick. Next up, we have the Voodoo Doll. It is a 3 mana 1/1 with Battle Cry. Choose a minion. Death Rattle. Destroy chosen minion. So what I'm seeing here is 5 mana Assassinate for Mage. The fact that it's 3 mana means that you can play this pretty easily. It ends up holding you end up holding it over your opponent's head like the Sword of Damocles. For late game, it can be really easy removal if you happen to be Mage. I really think this is going to end up finding a home in Mage, possibly even Frostlich Jaina deck, simply because it's a 1/1 that allows you to kill an opposing minion, and if you're Frostlich Jaina, you get a 3/6 with Lifesteal, because you're Frostlich Jaina. I feel like this is going to find a home more in Mage decks than anything else. This may as well just be a Mage card. Maybe there are other classes that can make use of it, say Warlock, who would use this with, say, Defile, or Warrior, who can use this with a Whirlwind effect, but I feel like, in the end, this is more of a Mage card than anything else. That's not bad, though. It's nice. Mage could use this. Next up, we have the Witch's Cauldron, a 3 mana 4/0/4. Why did I almost say 4/4? After a friendly minion dies, add a random shaman spell to your hand. Works pretty well with Hagatha, who's already, getting tons of shaman spells around. This, it works actually pretty well with the Rush minions, I'm thinking, because the Rush minions are probably going to die a lot, and die easily. So, Rush minion, you throw it out, you kill an opposing minion, your Rush minion dies, you get a random shaman spell, maybe you can throw the shaman spell, I'm pretty sure this won't trigger on its own death, but hey, who knows. That being said, zero attack creatures have never really worked out, have they? Lightwell was just about the only thing that did really well, and that was because it was cheap and it was hard to kill. Summoning Stone, by the time you could play it, your opponent could easily kill it. Witch's Cauldron, it's going to be easy to kill. Doomsayer is also hard to kill, but its effect is to kill everything anyway, so. But that being said, I don't know. Witch's Cauldron looks like it could have some pretty potentially good value, especially if you play it on a board that's already built up, and you just start trading minions off, which means that you clear your opponent's board and get hand advantage because now you have a bunch of spells that It has potential. I'm not super excited to play it just yet, but it's got potential. Next up, we have the Witchwood Grizzly. It is a 5-mana, 3/12 beast, which means that it's sharing health with some 9-drops like Ysera, the Sleepy Dragon. Man. It also has Taunt and Battle Cry. Lose a health for each card in your opponent's hand. We are actually seeing a little bit of like interacting with your opponent's hand here, and this is one of them. This is probably just the anti-aggro card of the set. If you're up against an aggro deck, they're playing out their hand as quickly as possible. You know, maybe they're reloading with Divine Favor because Paladin does that. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're not reloading their hand, and this manages to come down on turn 5 as a 3/10 and just makes your opponent sad. I like it, and I do really... if only Firelands Portal wasn't rotating and I could just get this as a 3/12 off of it in Standard, that'd be hilarious. All in all, though, I like Witchwood Grizzly. I think it has plenty of potential. If you're going up against a lot of aggro decks, this is definitely great for getting rid of them. You know, kind of a tech card. This is what we would call sideboard fodder if this was Magic, but we don't have a sideboard. But I like this. If you're just having a day where you're just losing to aggro left and right, give this a try. Finally, we have the Worgen Abomination, 7-mana, 6/6. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all other damaged minions. This is certainly abominable, alright. Not entirely sure where this finds a home. Maybe Warrior, just because it gets the ability to do extra damage to damaged minions, and Warrior has all those whirlwind effects. Warlock can maybe do it. Mage definitely could do it to kind of like, oh god, Blizzard into this? Oh lord, that would be terrible. But I'm not sure where this thing's home might be. Mage certainly, Warrior certainly, Warlock certainly, but I don't know. It's an abomination because I can't think of where to put it. Do I put it in a cage or do I put it in a deck? So that is my first impressions of just about every single Hearthstone Witchwood card that's been revealed so far, missing, of course, the few that was revealed on the 7th and the 8th because I started this on the 6th. Did I start this? No, I started this on the 7th. Well, I started it sometime. Yeah, I started this. I missed a few days. But let me know in the comments below what you think of the cards. Tell me I'm wrong. Certainly tell me I'm wrong. Debate with yourselves. Debate with me. Keep it all civil. And I hope to see you guys in the Witchwood on Thursday when the expansion finally drops. I'll have plenty of stuff to do then. I'll do a pack stream. Or not a stream, but just certainly a recording of me opening the packs and maybe losing my mind over getting the cool stuff. I'm really hoping for first pack face collector here. And I will definitely be playing the Monster Hunt mode, which I haven't even mentioned much, but I'm certainly excited because Dungeon Run was cool, Monster Hunt is going to be cool, it's going to be great. I'm just loving the Witchwood, every single part of it. The only thing I don't like too much is the back, but that's just because it's not blue, and I like blue. Have a wonderful day, guys. See ya on the next one.